If you own a cell phone, you are under surveillance. I believe what you do on your cell phone is none of their damn business.
GOP presidential hopeful and never dull Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, he got a thunderous applause at UC Berkeley this week here while speaking out against the NSA surveillance program. His criticism of the spying program didn't end there. In an interview with The Times, Paul said that President Obama should tread lightly and be more sensitive when it comes to domestic spying following the government surveillance of African-American civil rights leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King. He went there in that analogy. Now this, as the agency's spying program, obviously takes center stage again after new documents on international spying have been leaked. Now today, German leaders announced plans to launch an investigation to U.S. spying abroad. And I want to bring the panel back in on this. Again, the messenger and the message. Again, Rand Paul was the same guy who thought that he wants to roll back civil rights legislation, so Dominic may not be able to eat in certain restaurants that we would be able to, but yet he's concerned about African-American civil rights protections. Be that as it may, I think I hear progressives in UC Berkeley clapping along with Rand Paul.
Well, that's what's so interesting about this issue, right? Is it really does. There is a constituency for pulling this stuff back on the right and on the left, and it just kind of makes it fun. It seems to me where it is right now is that there is a consensus around the notion that we got to reel this in a little bit, that the technology has changed so much that it's so easy for people to follow so many things about our lives, and that somehow or another the protections that we used to have don't protect us anymore.
What do you think the president, of all people, given his background, his skepticism, would embrace it and even double down off of what the Bush administration did?
Because of the same thing you called him, the president. People get in that job, they get those daily intelligence briefs. There's a lot of scary stuff in the world. No president of any party wants to be the guy who doesn't let those things happen. And so I think the fear takes over a little bit, the rights get pushed back a little bit, and you end up with a unjustifiable structure in place. But don't worry, it's going to change.
I'm also not sure he wanted to take on that extra fight. I mean, that might just be one thing too many. He's politically, that's a tough sell for him too. There's plenty of bipartisan opposition to it, so it may also be a little bit of
maybe
political
he's full of it. Maybe he's just another politician who just is that. And I'm just saying, I mean, look, maybe he's just another member of the political class who just says, you know what? That's what it is. I'm up here now. I'm not a community activist anymore. I'm an elite now. And you know what? We're going to do what we're going to do. You can take your community activism.
You know what's funny? I hear crickets. When it comes, you've got the Rand Pauls, and to be fair to him, I disagree with just about everything he says. On this one, I think he's got some legitimate points. But he is of a point, of a position similar with the Democrats, where he's the libertarian perspective. However, Republicans and moderate Democrats, especially if they're on intelligence committees in the House and Senate, you hear crickets with their criticism of this. Republicans are in a tough spot on this one because they're always of, hey, you got nothing wrong, you do nothing wrong, you got nothing to worry about here, let the intelligence agencies do whatever they want.
Let them read my emails.
It's interesting. Some of the criticisms haven't come from the Republican Party.
And as Alice points out, there's a line. We don't know where it is and where it was and where it's going at this point with technology. Now it's changing. The point is you have to protect the country, and you have that responsibility as a president, which is why he changes what he's going to do at some point. And he could do things very privately and not have to worry about a public fight about where he is on these issues.
He could.
That's not even executive orders, but just kind of directives and whatever they have.
Still get a public fight.
Well, but you wouldn't know about it when he's doing it necessarily. So what I'm saying is we need to determine where that line is and hold him to it somewhere.
I think it's a bigger issue. The technology, I've learned from these guys, but even if we figured out where the line is, I don't think at this point we can stop it. I think that's the reality. It's not just the law that hasn't kept up with technology. It's the enforcement and curtailment. I mean, look at Edward Snowden. I mean, I don't want to get into debate about the guy here. Andrew and I will have a fight for hours about him. But my point is, if a twerp like that can do this, right? Is this really manageable? Has this fight already happened? Whether or not we had a debate about it, and it's can you really stop this flow of information?
In today's day and age, whether it be Google or other search engines, they keep all that information about you, and they can find all that stuff out. There's stories written about certain search providers that actually don't keep that, and when you go in and type your searches, you've got to type the whole thing out because it doesn't prompt you based upon what you've done before.
I think it's a tip of the iceberg
where
thing,
we
too.
operate.
I think people are thinking, all right, look, if we know this much about what is below the surface, exactly how deep are they going? And I think that's what it is. Plus, this directly reflects a movie that everybody saw about 10 years ago and went, oh, wow, could you imagine if that happened? And, oh, my God, it's happening. Exactly. The Gene Hackman, Enemy of the State.
Okay.
I mean, like,
the
to the
they?
T.
Who's the they?
Exactly. Tip of the iceberg. Who's the they?
And the government, clearly the government does a lot.
Right.
You're right. I mean, but there's real money to be made in knowing what kind of deodorant TJ likes.
Alice.
You know?
There's a difference.
Sure.
Hopefully there is some.
Get it? Nobody got
None of the above.
Nobody got the
But
joke.
there's a difference between
Nobody
a
got the
company
joke.
knowing what your preferences are so that they can market to you better versus the government knowing too much about you with the ability to lock you away and the ability to take away your rights and the ability to penalize you financially. Nobody is saying that we need to rein in Facebook or that we need to rein in Twitter or that you can't go online and find out plenty of information.
Interconnected?
No, there's a certain amount. If somebody wants to investigate you, they can find out all they can, but it shouldn't be that easy for a government entity to do it.
Do you have
and
Easy
the,
Pass?
and the, and the
Do you have
argument,
Easy
and the
Pass?
argument that the cat is already out of the
No, do
bag
you?
is one of the
Do you?
worst arguments for
Okay,
not
but
doing
do you have
something I've
Easy
ever heard.
Pass?
I do have Easy
Okay,
Pass.
and I do too. And I thought for all of 30 seconds, like, wait a minute, I do this. Basically, I'm given a tracking device as to where I'm going, how fast I'm going, whatever, my patterns,
Right.
and I still got the thing because I don't want to wait online to pay
Right.
tolls.
Right.
You can argue phone, my cell phone, and I've agreed
gotta
basically.
live.
Look at the phone. Look what happens with the cars
There's
now. They're
cameras
all
on-
going to
there's
be
cameras
coming
on
with
the highway.
tracking devices.
There's cameras
But
on the
it's-
highway that can track your license plate retroactively and go back and find that you were here and then you were here. And then
So
you were
you
here.
tempted us all to say,
man.
what really do you think tangibly we can do about it?
We can get judges to make sure that the government doesn't get their hands on this information until there's a reason for them
Yeah.
to.
Richard-
Probable cause still exists.
Richard, all of us, God forbid something happens in this country, will be sitting here criticizing the president for why didn't he do more to protect this country. I mean, let's cut through all the nonsense here.
Not Obi. He'll stand with that president no matter what. Yeah.
He'll be the first one. And so, I mean, we don't have the information that the president has. I know you guys are big on civil liberties and so on, but the country has to do what it has to do to protect itself.
You realize how dangerous whenever we've done that? There's
But it
always,
is.
whenever
Yeah,
there's
you're right about
unchecked
that.
power, it always leads to stuff that we say, wait a minute, whoever told Hoover he could do this? Whoever said,
You're right, but we got right now a 747 that nobody knows where it is.
Yeah.
Right now.
By the way.
He does.
Wow.
Right now. A 747 and nobody knows where it is.
Easy Pass is the answer.
If there was an easy pass on that
See
windshield.
that? We just tied it up nice and neatly in a bow. All right, let the madness begin. When we come back, if you're one of the millions checking their brackets in search of a big payday, Ohio State didn't do me any favors today, you might want to think for 1 second about the players. Now, billions and billions of dollars. Forget about the wagering, forget about the contracts with the networks. That's changing hands here right now. The players aren't seeing a cent. Should they see it? And if they do, will that be the end of collegiate sports? We'll talk about that when we come back.